They say it's easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled. This is certainly the case. Why? It's because of pride. Have you ever wondered why pride, of all things, is one of the 7 deadly sins? Because it blinds you from knowing and discovering the truth. It goes hand in hand with a term in psychology that we all should be familiar with. It's called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is something that your brain does not like. It doesn't want to go through cognitive dissonance. However, if you are to discover any type of truth in this world, then cognitive dissonance is extremely necessary for you to go through. Why is it easier to fool people, to lie to them, to manipulate them? Why is that easier than trying to convince them that they have been lied to, that they have been manipulated? Why? Well, my theory is because the ego wants to protect what it thinks it knows. The ego is proud to have learnt certain things, to know certain things. It makes the ego feel like it is smart, intelligent, knowledgeable. The reason it is difficult to convince someone that they've been lied to is because of their own pride. People do not want to come to the realization that they were duped, that they were tricked, because it makes them feel like they're dumb. And that is something, just don't go there. Can't handle that. Cognitive dissonance. If you do not know what cognitive dissonance is, I suggest that you learn exactly what it is. I'll give you a relatable example. a little story, a little hypothetical. Say that you have a really good friend at work, like let's just say. Actually, even better yet, let's say at work, like you have a boss, right? Who is in charge of your team. And to you, he is a very genuine, great guy. He treats you in the same way that he would like you to treat him. He's just a downright great guy. And in your mind, you are convinced that this guy, absolute legend. Now, let's fast forward a bit. So, in your mind, you think that he's a top bloke. And you have had this belief in your mind for a very long time. Like you've been working with him for a year or so, and you're like, he has never said anything disrespectful to me. He is just such a good bloke. In your mind, you have convinced yourself of that. Say you overhear a conversation that he's having with another worker, and he obviously doesn't know that you can hear or see what he's doing, right? He's speaking to another worker and he is just cussing this guy out, being very rude, very abusive, and basically being an asshole. And you are seeing this and you're thinking to yourself, that is really odd. All of this time, in my mind, I've thought that he was such a good guy. You know, like something doesn't add up here. And that is when your brain, it starts to question itself. It starts to question whether your old belief, whether it was a flawed belief, if it was incorrect. And the brain, in order to save itself from going through that analysis process, it basically says, I'll just give him the benefit of the doubt, you know. I've known this guy for a year, you know. I know I'm right. Alright. So you are able to just dismiss that encounter and say a couple of weeks later, like the same thing happens again, right? So like you overhear him talking with another co-worker, a different guy, and the same thing is going on. He's just cussing him out, like telling him how useless he is, and you know, like just being extremely rude and obnoxious. And after this second time, like you think about it again, and it's like, like this happened the other week. However, it doesn't align with my own personal experience, does it? So like your brain is just constantly analyzing both situations, trying to figure out like which one is actually correct. In your brain, it would be easier to just dismiss any evidence of the contrary and just say, "Oh no, mate, this guy's a legend. Love this guy. Good bloke." However, the evidence is starting to suggest that that is not the case. And I think a reason why not many people can get to this type of thinking is because of pride. No one likes to think that they have been duped. It is a stain on the ego. Let's just say that. I mean, another example. If you are absolutely crazy about your girlfriend, right? And you think she's the best thing since sliced bread. She'll never hurt you. And then a couple of weeks later, you get a call from your best friend. And he says to you, "Oh man, I was at the bar the other night and I saw your girlfriend there. And she was talking to some other guy. And obviously she didn't see me. However, I saw everything that she was doing. And she was basically cheating on you." And the boyfriend in that situation, in his mind, he thinks that he has an angel. She'd never do that. That's not her. How can he be so blinded? Instead of coming to those types of realizations, it's just easier to just say, "Oh, mate, like you don't know what you're talking about. In fact, I think that you are jealous. And that is why you are trying to cause a separation in my relationship." A lot of people do that. Like they just can't do it. And I can tell you right now that best friend in that situation, he had very good intentions. He was like, I am looking out for my mate. And instead, like the guy like basically tells him to F off. And they don't speak again. That is another example of cognitive dissonance. Even though you have been presented with some evidence that contradicts your strongly held belief, you still choose to hold on to that older belief because it is less painful that way. If you think about what happened during COVID, I can go into that too, but I won't. There was a lot of cognitive dissonance happening in 2020, 2021, wasn't there? And it was just easier just to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, yeah. And just say, trust the process, right? You know, like, what do I know? What do I know? Like the doctors, you know, like they've obviously got it figured out, haven't they? They are obviously so much smarter than you. At least that is the narrative that they want you to think. If you are on the path of self-discovery, of discovering truth in this world that we are in, you are going to have to get accustomed and comfortable with the experience of cognitive dissonance. There's no way to avoid it. You just gotta confront it. And what you will find is that almost everything that you were taught was a lie, and it was a manipulation of some sort. And it is on you to try to unlearn all of that programming, all of that baggage that was fed to you, force-fed to you. You need to clean all of that stuff out in order to then rebuild. To then have the ability to look at things through a rational, clear and balanced lens. If you are someone that has the ability to experience cognitive dissonance and come out the other side, you are a very select few people. It is a skill. And it is a skill that is absolutely necessary in order for you to achieve your highest state of being. For you to become much more conscious of your surroundings and your world that you live in. So, as I close out this video, don't forget the famous quote and saying, "It is easier to fool people than to convince them they have been fooled." I want you to think about that quote and try to understand what it really means, because what it is talking about is pride and ego. Humble yourself. It is okay to be duped as long as you are learning from it and you come out the other side a more knowledgeable person.